Good evening, YouTube. This is Kaylin String coming at you with my regular Sunday night dinner. And I am attempting to bring it up on my Kindle so that I can see the chat. There is a delay in between what I am seeing on my Kindle and what shows up on my phone screen if I were to literally stand up and look at it. But what I have is a 2018 pack. That's the year right there. Canadian IMP menu 6. In 2017, they did not have menu numbers, at least not on the ones that I've got. And I think some of what Smokey got, because he got several lots of these IMPs from the same seller that I got my set of 4 from. So this is the older style paper bag. Looks like a super wide version of a lunch sack. There it is. Now my stream is up on my Kindle so I can go ahead and pull up the chat. So there's a QR code here. And that's pretty much it. For the back side. I'm going to take this little guy here and cut the top off. It just makes it easier to open. You know, I'm just doing a little cleaner because after all, I'm at home. I can get away with that. So here you can clearly see the layers of the bag were not attached to each other. And this is how everything was laid out when the main and the dessert used to be in boxes. They got rid of that in subsequent years. I'm going to start pulling things out. Got peanut butter, Nescafe 3 and Creamy, and that will go into my delicious mug. By the way, Multi-Magnum opened up a British ORP that he got from Delicious, and he will begin shooting videos on that. Raspberry jam, that's awesome. White Book matches, and these have red tip, and I have no idea what the match color means. Whoa, look at this, 2 peanut butters. The ration packer slipped up and tossed in 2 peanut butters. Got the hamburger bun. And the sports drink is ice. Got 2 of these. Use 1. I'll set the other aside. maple brown sugar oatmeal. So this would have been a breakfast ration that I had heard that this would have been issued for breakfast. And just in case that was the case, I got a bowl for the oatmeal. Got the Canadian Mint compressed towel with the maple leaf. It's hard to see the maple leaf through that little text there. And then the little 4-pack of Tic Tacs. Vanilla drink mix. I've had this before, so I will probably save this one for a later time. Got the Canadian gusseted beverage bag. Very nice thing to have. And wrapped up inside of the paper towel, Frank's Red Hot. So this is literally a paper towel that they stuck in here, along with the spork. That looks very similar in color and style to the US Emery spoon. The dessert item is fruit cocktail in the box. And the last item that was in the bag, which will serve as a trash bag, is the entree itself, the baked beans. I already looked at this. I found another eBay listing of this menu, and it had the ingredients for the baked beans on their listing page, so I looked at it, and there's no pork in there, so this is one that I can enjoy. Otherwise, I would have passed it on to someone else. Then I'm putting the trash into the ration bag. Got multi-magnum here. CR. Mother Earth Garden Club is here. Those are the 3 that I can see so far. Only need 1 peanut butter, so the other peanut butter will be saved for another day. These boxes did serve a purpose of helping the ration hold its shape inside the bag. But when Baxter's decided to, or whatever company actually puts these things together, decided to change that, change it up to the paper bag, from the paper bag to the plastic bag. And they got rid of the boxes, plus it cuts down on weight. I'm going to go ahead and put the drink powder into the drinking jar. Looks a little clumpy, but probably because it was pretty seriously compressed. I like to mix a lot of these drink powders up ahead of time, or first, because they do take some time to dissolve. This ice flavor is kind of like a mixed berry sort of thing. There is a similar flavor and color of Gatorade. I'm going to put that there. Sweet and creamy in the mug. Actually, I think this bowl might be too small because, I don't know, I'll go with it. What the heck. Normally I don't do these breakfast things, but I'm going to go ahead and go for it since there isn't really much else in this ration. There's no dessert of any kind. I mean, no candy. The fruit would be the dessert. But I'm going to keep the bowl off to the side that has the oatmeal in it. So I'm going to take this into the kitchen and put this in the water to start that heating up. And then I'll come back with the kettle for the coffee and the oatmeal. Actually, I'll go ahead and leave that there. That'll do, I think. Actually, this bowl's working out pretty good. This is going to take a little time to set up. It'll thicken. Spicy tuna rolls is here. This and That with Matt is here. Thanks for dropping in. The fruit cocktail is looking a little dark, but that's to be expected for something this old. I'm going to put the oatmeal back there. I'm going to open up the hamburger bun. Oxygen absorber fell right off of it. Mike Kreischer in the house. I'll check out your video on that jambalaya later. But tonight, menu 6 from 2018. Looks like this hamburger bun took a bit of damage on the way. Didn't quite come apart as I would have preferred, but it is what it is. Burger Butt is here. Thanks for dropping in. Now, I had never had the baked beans before, so I'm looking forward to giving it a shot. I'm needing the peanut butter. Then for some reason, I got 2 peanut butters. I'm not sure what happened on that, but sometimes I guess that happens. You get a duplicate. Sometimes someone thinks they didn't throw one in and they throw another one in. Or a machine accidentally kicks 2 in. And it's not caught before the bag is sealed. Or sometimes you might actually be missing an item. I'm actually going to put some of the peanut butter I'm just squirting it all on here. Again, this is made in the USA for the Canadian ration packer. There we go. Should be able to see that. Here is the raspberry jam packet. It looks in much better shape than that mustard packet that was from the smoked meat. That was the first of these IMPs that I opened up. There's one big glob of that. Now because the top, this part of the bun started to split, I'm just going to put it like that. This oatmeal has thickened up a fair amount. But I think I'm going to let it sit a little bit more because I don't think all of it got rehydrated yet. Now I'm going to give my drink another stir because it hasn't all dissolved yet. So this is what this looks like. I'll probably still stir it again later. But now that I got everything opened up, I'm going to go get the beans and I'll be right back. I am back. I got the beans. This is just a domed lid from my cookware that I have had for many years. I actually got this set when I was in college, and I've been traveling with it from place to place. So this is part of just my daily cookware until I got a few other items. But this domed lid makes it easy to transport the retorts from the kitchen into here. And I just have a paper towel that I dry it off. I shake it down to make sure that the food is below the tear notch. Definitely not the color I expected. I actually thought this would be a bit darker. I guess I was imagining the color of like Bush's baked beans. The Carlos Perry is here. Thanks for dropping in. Looking at a menu 6 from 2018. I got peanut butter and raspberry jam on the old hamburger bun. Got maple brown sugar oatmeal. Somewhat of a thin sauce for the beans. They're sweet. But not excessively sweet. The beans are soft, but not too soft. Typical of canned beans. Yeah, sometimes you get baked beans that are in a thicker sauce, but this is probably made thin for a reason. Very good. Oh, you get the protein from the beans along with the fiber and all the other nutrients that you would get in the beans. Gonna have a drink of my Nescafe Sweet and Creamy. Prepper for the Ages is here. Thanks for dropping in. And this is considered a breakfast menu. And that is why the oatmeal is here. Very, very lightly flavored. I can just barely taste the maple brown sugar in this oatmeal, but it's fully rehydrated. And that will thicken even more as it sits. If I wanted to, I could probably take up some of the syrup from the fruit cocktail and throw it in to the oatmeal. I don't know if I'll do that or not. And Spoons is here. First time seeing you here. Thanks for dropping in. I do these reviews every Sunday at 7 p.m. U.S. Central Time, with a few exceptions. During the month of Ramadan, where Muslims fast from first light to just after sunset for 29 to 30 days in a row, then I don't do these. I will be at the mosque every day during Ramadan. And if I am out of town, then obviously I'm not going to be doing any reviews, because sometimes where I go, I can barely get enough signal to toss up a text post on Facebook. Nick is here. Thanks for dropping in. This was the packing style of the Canadian single meal ration, individual meal pack, IMP. This was the standard packing until just a few years ago, when this was replaced by a plastic bag with a zip seal that actually made the unopened ration completely waterproof. And if you didn't use everything, or you wanted to pack out your trash in it, you could zip it back up. And although not waterproof anymore, because you have where the ends of the zip seal are, there may still be a bit of a gap where water could get in, it would still make it water resistant for the most part. So on these packs, this represents the year, so 2018, menu 6. Not all of these have menu numbers on them. My 2017 IMPs do not have menu numbers on them. That would be the same for the halal certified USMREs. They don't have menu numbers on them. You have to look at the ration where the entree information is to see what is in there. Spell check can be annoying. So on the hamburger bun, I got peanut butter and raspberry jam. In fact, I will just go ahead and break this apart since it already has split. Putting something on the bun definitely cuts through the dryness of it. Yeah, this fruit cocktail is definitely aged, but from the last time I had it, although the fruit is soft, it's still perfectly fine. Typical mix: pears, peaches, maybe a little apple, and sometimes you get a few pieces of cherry, sometimes one. The syrup is not excessively sweet. I guess up in Canada as well as in the UK, baked beans are considered a breakfast item. But back in our history, sometimes beans were part of every meal of the day because that is mostly what you had if you didn't have much of any other food while you were traveling. So this ice, again, it's a kind of a mixed berry type of a drink. You really can't pick out any one flavor. And it tastes like a sports drink. It tastes kind of like a Gatorade or a Powerade. It has the electrolytes in it. And in these rations, you get 2 packets of the same drink flavor. So I use one. I save the other for another time. This included the Frank's Red Hot, but I'm not going to use it. I'll save that for another time. Yeah, the packer put 2 peanut butters in when there should only have been 1. I'll save that one for another day. Yeah, sugar is in everything. It's in my sweet and creamy coffee. But nothing is overly sweet. You know, sometimes you get the canned baked beans that or even homemade baked beans, that it's way too sweet. I mean, it almost too sweet. You actually cover up the flavor of the beans and the other seasonings in them. Yeah, some people do like it runny, but again, as it sits, now this is not as thick as drywall mud yet. But if I wanted to thin it down, maybe add a little bit more flavor into this, I just put in a tiny bit of the syrup from the fruit cocktail. So it would thin it out a tiny bit. But it does cut through, it kind of cancels the original flavor a bit. So I think I'm going to just leave it as is. Yeah, we try to keep it family friendly here. Even though I don't, even though I keep everything is set to not made for kids, because otherwise people wouldn't be able to comment. And I want people to be able to comment on my videos. Plus, I may actually show something that would not be made for kids. Yep. Just like this little thing that I used to open up the ration bag. That wouldn't be kid friendly. Oh yeah, there have been a few of those that have come across. My camera lens. That transitional USMRE menu that only lasted a few years, that retort pouch literally flayed itself in the pot as I was heating it up. So I literally peeled off the outer layer, leaving the clear inner layer that held the food, and it looked like something had leaked out because the water had turned color. So I did not even open that one at all. After I ended the stream, I went ahead and got something else to eat. while I was, cleaning up. Yeah, you probably didn't miss much. That that just had to be taken out because, like I said, I want to keep it family friendly. Yeah, and when I opened up the IMP that had the smoked meat and mustard sauce, there's a mustard packet in there, and it had already failed. I was able to split it open and show where the outer layer could be separated from the clear inner layer that held that mustard inside, and that mustard looked like something had gotten to it. Just the tiniest of holes, and it started to dry out. I didn't see any leaking out of it, but it sure did not look right, so unfortunately I was not able to try that one. But everything else in that one, the meat itself, I really enjoyed it. The sauce that the meat was in, yeah, I really enjoyed that. It would be nice to see a newer version of that because I would have really liked to taste that mustard. Yeah, yeah. Some other channels that I follow have freeze dryers. Steve 1989 has a freeze dryer, and he has done some interesting experiments with his. And my local friend, Tack of the channel AOK Urban Homestead, she and a couple other locals went in on a freeze dryer, and it's kept at her house. So she uses it, and then the other two that helped pay for it, they go over there and use it, or they bring tacked stuff that they would like freeze dried, and then she does it, and either they pay her or she gets to keep a portion of the final product. And then there are a couple other channels that I've subscribed to. Old School Prepping, she has a freeze dryer. Uh, a guy, Chef Tech 89, who appears on live streams of, on the panel of, with others doing live streams. He's got a freeze dryer. So he's done some fun things with his. They are expensive, but if you can find the right model that suits your needs and the space that you have available, and you have to have a dedicated electrical circuit for it because they are watt hogs. Especially when you have to run them things for like a day plus day and a half or maybe even 2 days in one session in order to get the food to fully freeze dry and have all the moisture removed. That sure is a much longer process than dehydrating. I have a small dehydrator. The original motor on that one, with the fan and the heater in it, that crapped out. But I found a used one on Facebook Marketplace that was the exact same model, so I could keep my original trays. Plus, I got the 4 additional trays from the used one that I bought. And I have literally stacked all 8 trays at once. It says you can stack up to 7, but I'll stack all 8 trays. I may have to rearrange them, switch them around, restack them. But at least I can do that. No, and then Harvest Right is not the only company that produces freeze dryers. There is another one out there. I forget the name of this newer company. And I don't know if they are still around, but even this company called Four Patriots, they had one made with their brand on it. But I have no idea if those are even worth the money that you pay for them, because I've only seen one YouTube channel that featured one of those, and she has not talked about it in a long time, so I don't know if it's just not working anymore or if they got rid of it or what. But the newer model of the Harvest Right freeze dryers have an internal oil mechanism where you do not have to drain the oil through an external port, filter it, and then put it back in or put new. You don't have to do that with the newer models. The earliest models, you have to do that. The one that my friend Tack has, she has to do that with her freeze dryer. But other than that, it's worked very well for her and the others who have had food run through it. The Nescafe Sweet and Creamy, I do like it. It's my second favorite 3-in-1 coffee. My first favorite is G7. I got introduced to that one several years ago at camp with a bunch of other YouTubers that came up here to Iowa. And one of them had G7 and gave me a few packets of it, so I tried it. Oh yeah, I like it. Yep, since this oatmeal has thickened up a little bit more since I put a little bit of that fruit syrup in it. But doing that covered up a bit of that maple brown sugar flavor. But I'm still enjoying it. Yeah, I probably put 8 ounces of water in here. And I probably put about the same amount in here. And it's just fine. I probably could have put a tiny bit less. These Canadian drinks call for 240 mils of water, which is slightly less than 8 ounces. But I just put the water to where the top of the jar starts to go curve up, curve in on itself. That's usually what I go by when I'm going for approximate cup of water. Yeah, some coffees they say put 6 ounces or the equivalent in milliliters. And for some like that so-called deep rich coffee, 6 ounces is too much water. You either have to maybe cut it to 3 or 4 or use at least 2 packets. I was never a fan of that. And I've had some of those packets fail. I like the old red packet Taster's Choice. Out of the few of those that I've had, I've only had 2 that did not fail. I just went for a bite of the fruit cocktail. The peaches are very soft. Even the pears are quite soft. It kind of reminds me of the fruit cocktail that you get in Spanish rations. But I still will have no issues in finishing that off. Yeah, I get the G7 in the individual serving packets. That way I can take as few or as many as I want when I'm packing up for camping. There are a couple of stores here where I can buy that locally. And that's usually the one store is usually where I get it. I have not looked at the other Asian store to see if they have the G7. But I really do like that. Hello Groceries had a 3-in-1 coffee that is slightly different than this one. I think I've only gotten it once, so I may have to get it again next time I'm in there. Yeah, I like having instant coffee as an emergency prep item because I can use a camp stove to heat up water for it. I don't have to plug my coffee maker into my biggest power station and run that battery down. I have no idea how many watts that thing uses. I got that watt meter. I should try it. No, that's okay. Don't worry about it, Carlos. That's why I got so many mods is to take care of that stuff. And I'll just call it stuff. Some people are quicker on that. It also depends on your internet connection, how fast you can do something. My connection can be iffy at times. I get froze up during other people's streams. Yeah, like I said, I try to keep it family friendly. It would take an extreme situation or incident to get me to actually cuss. Everybody else, all the other adults in my family, they cuss, but you know, I just found it a complete turn off. Uh, I just find it a waste of my breath to casually use words like that. Of course, if I were in a situation where I was translating something from Spanish to English or from English to Spanish, if there was profanity involved, I would translate it. I would just remind the person on the receiving end of it that it's not my words, it's just what the original speaker or writer of that text said. And so I just put it in the target language, and that's how it is. I'm going to guess Badr S. Welcome, thanks for dropping in. Canadian Individual Meal Pack, or IMP, from 2018, menu 6. Vegetarian baked beans. There is no meat item of any kind in this ration. This is a breakfast menu, so I have the oatmeal, maple brown sugar oatmeal. I usually don't bother with the breakfast items in what I would consider breakfast item, like the oatmeal, but in this case I decided to go ahead and do it. I have a lot of those oatmeal muesli packets saved up. I have taken them camping. Or I may have used them for my breakfast during Ramadan, when I'm eating my breakfast before first light. I use them for that. Plus, they're just emergency food storage. And all the unused items that come in this ration, like this spork and this paper towel that they put in for napkin, anything like that, I hold on to. I got several of these compressed towels. There are lots of videos on how these work, so I don't bother wasting it. But they're very simple to use. A few drops of water on it, it will start to expand, soak it up. You can unravel it, and then you have a wet wipe that you can use. And some of them are strong enough that you could let it dry like a regular towel or washcloth, and then you could use it again either as a dry towel, or you could wet it again. So I like keeping those around. They're good for emergency kits. You put them in your hygiene bag for camping or hiking. That's what I like about those. They take up a whole lot less space. Yeah, I think those of us who are a little bit older, we watched Barney's show, especially if there were younger kids around. Yeah, put that on for them. My heater's cycling on, as they do. Diley, I'm going to guess Bear. Thanks for dropping in. I'm seeing yet another name I had not seen in here before. Again, I do these every Sunday at 7 p.m. U.S. Central Time. I'm in Iowa. There are a few times where I would not be doing these streams during Ramadan, where I fast from first light till just after sunset, and I go to my mosque to eat dinner with everybody else, and I share in the work of getting things set up and some of the food prep. I volunteer doing stuff like that. And then if I'm out of town, like on my annual family trip to Lake Icaria, which is my late dad's favorite Iowa lake, so we go there every year. In fact, we are already booked for 2026. We booked, the past few years we have had to book 2 years in advance because it is so popular, especially if you want to get a certain spot, either a certain tent camping spot or a certain cabin or pair of cabins, in our case, because we have a larger group, more people than what can fit in one of the cabins, but not enough to pay the extremely high cost of renting one of the 12-person cabins. Plus, those don't have as much shade. It's farther from the water, and it's a steeper downhill walk to the edge of the lake. So we have a specific pair of cabins that we go to, and we reserve 2 years in advance in order to get those 2 cabins at the approximate time that we want. I finished off the baked beans. I have peanut butter and raspberry jam on the hamburger bun. And because this is the breakfast menu, it had maple brown sugar oatmeal, very lightly flavored. Most other Canadian rations would have a candy bar or a protein bar, but in these that would be considered a breakfast ration, like this one, or I think there's a hash browns with bacon. That might have oatmeal in it, or a granola cereal type of a thing. But you get coffee of some kind, whether it's the espresso roast, just straight up instant coffee, or you get the 3-in-1 coffee. Either get fruit or a date square as a dessert. You get some kind of a bread item. You get spreads like peanut butter and jelly, and maybe mustard depending on what the menu is. And you get 2 packets of the same flavor sports drink powder. Just finishing off the oatmeal. This one also came with a vanilla drink mix, like the U.S. Emery Vanilla Dairy Shake, but I'm going to hold on to this one and save it for another day. But this is a mixing bag. It's got a Ziploc across here. It's got a gusseted bottom, so it makes mixing a whole lot easier. And because French is an official language of Canada, everything is in French. Easy Money is here. I haven't seen that name in a coon's age. Thanks for dropping in. Oh, this is one of those nights where I'm having breakfast for dinner. I only had one cherry in my fruit cocktail tonight. I think the last IMP I had 3, and then the one before that, which was the newer plastic bag type, I think I had 5 pieces. Although some very small. But for 2018, the last IMP that I opened up was, which is another paper bag type, is 2017. They did not have menu numbers like this one does. Everything in that one held up except for the mustard packet. I was disappointed in seeing that one fail, but something happened to it at the factory where it was packed. But that's the way it goes. And this is a utensil that you get in the Canadian IMPs. It looks very similar to the U.S. Emery spoon, except this is a little bit longer, and it's a spork. This replaced the long handle white spoon, which I have a few of those. I keep all those things. They become part of my emergency stash. So the plastic utensils will be pulled out if I have to severely restrict my water use, and I can't afford to use a lot of water to wash things like this spork. Or say this mug. I have disposables that I can fall back on. And even this paper towel that gets added to my stash. Oh, vinyl is making a comeback, that's for sure. I watch a channel called Homestead Tessie, and a couple of weeks ago, she showed some vintage Christmas albums on vinyl that she got a hold of. So she has a record player that she plays those on. Obviously, she won't do it in a video, so because she doesn't want to get copyright strike. And there are performers even now who may never have grown up with vinyl records are having their stuff produced on them because they know that people are after it. Yep, I grew up with cassettes and vinyl and even 8 tracks. I think some people may still have 8 tracks that they can play either at home or vehicles that still have the 8 track players. When I was a lot younger, we had a vehicle that had an 8 track player, so we would take some of those along on long trips. And then we got vehicles with cassette players, so we would be popping cassettes in. And then later CD players, and now knowing you get these built-in apps for streaming like Sirius XM or something where you can play something from Spotify or iHeart or something like that, or Apple iTunes or whatever the heck it is. You don't need a physical disc or tape or anything like that. There's my Iowa brother Tim Riley in the house. Thanks for dropping in. "2018 held up pretty darn good." And yes, I did actually fix the oatmeal. I'm down to my peanut butter and raspberry jam on the hamburger bun. Now, Smokey was live earlier from the location of the 2 buildings that he recently acquired, and he was able to get in one, but because the internet down there is sketchy at times in the location where he was at, he would freeze up or he would get completely locked up or booted off. But the one building is going to be a restaurant. The 2-story building is going to be a YouTube studio and an attached office, and then the upstairs will be an apartment that will be rented out. And that will be an income earner along with the income from the restaurant once that's going. But he had issues getting into the other building. But he's going to end up changing the locks anyway because some of those handles on those doors are a bit sketchy at best. But he's got a lot of work ahead of him. He and the crew that he's going to get to do the reno of both of those buildings. But the character, especially the 2-story, that building has some serious character to it. And if he can save as much of that as he can while still making the necessary repairs and upgrades to make it fully functional again, I think that will be pretty darn good. And with the restaurant within steps of the second floor apartment, the person who lives there would not have to drive to go to that restaurant. He or she can walk to go there for a meal. I definitely agree with that. I mean, in this building that I live in, when it was originally built, they cut corners right and left. The cabinet frames were not made of solid wood, they were made out of particle board. And so if you screw a door hinge to it and that door is open to close a lot, which you do get with a cabinet door, that hole is going to wear so much that the screw just won't stay in. And then last year, I had to have someone come in and literally remount the one end of my kitchen cabinet above my sink because it was starting to pull away from the wall. So I took a lot of it out. I took everything down off the top because I have space on the top of those cabinets. They don't go all the way up to the ceiling. So I didn't have enough weight, I think, in them that would cause that to happen. It was just shoddy workmanship. But it got secured up and beefed up. But I don't put as much on top as I did before. And I've reduced a little bit of the weight that I keep inside those cabinets. I mean, the inside doors, like the bathroom door, the bedroom door, my storage closet door, they only put 2 hinges in those doors, not 3, which I think is code on all interior doors is to have 3 hinges. So that got taken care of. But I can't use my dishwasher anymore because where it mounts to the underside of the countertop, that countertop is disintegrated. And so if I try to use a dishwasher, it will just shake so much. So I use it for dish storage. I will not use that dishwasher anymore because of that. Plus, it takes some of the weight out of that cabinet that's above it. So that's another reason why I won't use that dishwasher anymore. It'll just be storage. My oven doesn't work, so it's pot storage. But when you don't have much for space, you got to do what you got to do, and this is just what I do. Yeah, everything is pretty much gone. Again, I did not use the Frank's Red Hot. I will save this stuff for another day. In fact, I keep these in my fridge. I got a Ziploc bag full of these. This one will join it. I even saved these Tic Tac packets. I saved these for long term because these are not a candy that will easily melt like chocolate or say a Jolly Rancher type candy. they hold up to heat better. So that's why I save those. And when I go to the Transit Rider Advisory Committee meetings, we either get a few of the Mint Lifesavers, or we've gotten some of these little packets in the past. So I hold on to all of those. I got a bag full of the matchbooks. It says Eddie Match. From Pembroke, Ontario. So I save all of these because I never know where I may need to have matches, either to light a candle, light up a fuel tab if I'm using one of those in an Esbit type stove, or I pull out my folding twig stove and light a fire in it on my deck. That's why I keep all those that way. I have a good supply of them. In fact, yesterday when I went out to the mailbox to check the mail, I looked on the ground along the sidewalk and I saw a piece of birch bark laying there, so I picked it up and brought it in. I have 2 birch trees on the property, so whenever birch bark falls and I see it, I pick it up. So in the 8 years that I've been here, I've picked up a fair amount of that birch bark. Thanks for dropping in, DeCarlos. Hope to see you another day. Next Sunday, I will be live, and I will pull out one of the 2 La Brea kosher rations. And as soon as I get paid, if that one My Own Meals complete ration with the entree and the accessory pack, if that is still available on eBay, I used to see 2, now I only see 1. If that is still available, I'm going to grab it. And then what I'm going to do is do a comparison between the 2 companies, the items that they put in, how they're packaged, and there are some slight differences. So I want to show that on camera. So I'm going to try to get a complete My Own Meals. That company was doing these kosher and some certified halal rations before La Brea got the contract to do that. And from what I've seen, some of these are used in Canada. So I'm definitely going to enjoy doing that comparison. Now, these 2 that I got are vegetarian, which I don't mind. This is vegetarian, but I don't mind. So I will switch off between the kosher rations and the other IMPs. I got 2 more IMPs. I have a chicken and the chili. I've had the chili that was in the plastic bag. Now I have a 2017 chili IMP. It'll be neat. It'll be neat to see what may have changed from 2017 to 2021. Yeah, that type of stuff really sucks. Yeah, my dad had to retire early because of his health, and at the time we did not know that there may have already been cancer festering inside him. So he and my mom retired from apartment management in 2006. Plus, the house that they were living in was being sold by the company that they worked for. So they would have needed to move out anyway because the new owner was probably going to have someone else living in there. So they took my maternal grandmother down to Arkansas in in the spring of 2006. But my grandmother only lasted till August of that year when she died from cancer. And then in October, my dad got diagnosed with cancer, so he and my mom decided to come back up here because they were certain that my dad's cancer was pretty far advanced, and it was because he only lasted a month after his initial diagnosis. But he wanted to be up here with us. And so my sisters, two of my sisters went down, and my brother helped because he was still living on his land in Arkansas that he still owns, even though he's up here. He still owns that land in Arkansas. The house on it needs some serious help. But anyway, so my parents got brought back up here because it was just getting too hard for my dad to drive. So my sisters did all the driving for them, taking my dad to a hospital up here for his exams and treatment. He did radiation. He didn't do chemo. He did radiation. But that only bought him a little bit of time to communicate with certain people that he wanted to communicate with, and he got that done. So we were happy about that. So we had to settle his affairs. But my dad wanted the same thing done that my grandmother wanted done after her death from cancers. Both of their bodies got donated to to a cancer research center. It's called Genesis in Memphis, Tennessee. That's where their bodies went for full examination and study of the cancer. And then they also use the donations to try to work on future treatments for different types of cancer. And then they send the donating relative a full autopsy report and an analysis of the cancer. So, and they pay a portion of final expenses such as for a funeral or an urn for the remains to be put in. The plot has already been paid for, so that was done by my aunt, my dad's sister. So that had been done years ago. So we didn't have to worry about that. So that's how that got taken care of. So my mother has, for a while, was staying with my two sisters who share a house. Then for a time she would go stay with our friends in Oklahoma that we've known since I was a little kid, because they used to live in Nebraska and then they went down to Oklahoma, so we had gone down there a few times, and my mom went there a few additional times before deciding that she just wanted to stay up here, and then eventually got her into an apartment. It's a senior, you have to be 55 and older in order to move into that complex. And some of these units are full market rent, some are income based. So my mom pays a smaller amount for rent based on her Social Security amount. And so when that gets increased, like what's going to happen this coming year, a 2.5% cost of living adjustment increase in the Social Security benefit. That also goes for Social Security disability and supplemental security income. Those three programs get the same cost of living adjustment. So when inflation was super high, it was like an 8% increase. Now it's a 2.5% increase, so not as much additional, but my mom's rent goes up. And her Medicare supplement premium goes up, and that eats up not only that cost of living adjustment increase plus some. So the rest of us try to help her in any way we can. Yeah, that's a good thing they did. Yeah, my dad had gone to Methodist Hospital for his radiation treatments, but again, they only bought him a little extra time. And he actually died on Veterans Day in November 2008. My dad was not in the service himself, but we have several relatives who were in. My maternal grandmother's second husband was in the Army infantry during World War II, and then in Vietnam he was in the Air Force. So he switched services. Then I have a cousin who spent some time at Eglin Air Base down in Florida, and she repaired the jet fighters. I think she worked mainly on the engines, but she could have worked on other parts of the planes. But yeah, she worked on the jets to make sure that they could get back in air. And then a distant cousin, a second cousin, joined the Air Force last year. I don't know what he's doing. And in the past, we have had other relatives who were in the Army that I know of. I don't know too many others. But my dad had mad respect for anybody who was in the military. So I guess it was fitting that he died on Veterans Day. Yeah, I have a couple of relatives who got that same cancer and beat it. The one is still alive. My cousin actually got her breast cancer when she was in her late 30s, which is pretty darn young. And she had already lost her husband to a drunk driver, so she was raising her two daughters alone. Both of them turned out to be brains. One has been working for some aerospace company. I don't remember which one, but she got into that. I don't remember what the other daughter is doing, but an aunt had gotten it about the same time, but she died from another illness totally unrelated to that cancer. And that was probably about 6 or 7 years ago. And then I know a few others who had gotten it and successfully beat it. Yeah, when you can give that cancer the shove off, that is a great feeling. But when it's your time, it's your time, just like it was for my dad and my maternal grandmother. And my grandmother's husband died a few years earlier from Alzheimer's. And that is just as nasty, if not worse. One of my former home care clients had that, and sometimes it can be a hard, fast fall when their time comes. I don't want to sound like a downer, but that's just the way it is. That's what I personally witnessed with this particular person. So when I saw these changes, I let the agency that I worked for know what I had seen. And then when a caregiver came back, I told them what was going on, that, you know, there might not be too much time left. So, and it turns out that was a right call. And it was not long after that, this client got put into hospice care. And so I stopped going over there. And it was not long after that that this person died from the Alzheimer's. But when you see those quick changes like that, that really sends your alert level high. And of course, I had another client where I caught a stroke in progress, and one thing that I noticed was the pitch of her voice dropped in addition to the slurred speech. So I reported that along with the other symptoms that I was seeing, and got an ambulance over there, told them what I'd seen and heard, and so I caught a stroke in progress and got that person to a hospital. Well, actually, the ambulance did, but I called the ambulance. Yeah, I still have my thyroid. It doesn't work as well as it should. It doesn't make enough of the hormone. So I take a synthetic hormone every day to compensate. But some people don't have their thyroid gland anymore, so I don't know what they do about that. Well, it is good to be cancer free. As far as not having a thyroid, I don't know. You have to take a hormone, or you just live with the fact that you're not getting that stuff. Yeah, we are definitely glad that he's around. I'm glad that he's still kicking it here in Iowa. Just finished off my drink. And this mug came from Delicious, all the way from Poland. Yeah, those seeds that I got from Hygge Homestead, they went into my seed stash. I use the plastic coffee containers. I got a few different sizes that I organize my seeds in. So the ones that I cannot grow here that require full sun, I could barter those with someone who can grow them, or maybe I say, if you grow this for me, because I don't get hardly any sun on my deck, you can have some of the harvest. I could go that route as well. And even this fruit seeds, like I've had, like the different apples. Some of them I know the varieties of, like Red Delicious. Last time I had a Red Delicious apple, I saved those seeds, let them dry out, and then put them in a little Ziploc bag with other Red Delicious apple seeds. I got seeds from a few different apples, and then I have a bag with a mixture because I have no idea what kind of apples those were. I got some different pear seeds, I got some lemon seeds, I got plum, apricot, I even got a couple of grapefruit seeds, I got some cherry seeds. So I saved those because who knows, one day they may have to be planted. Yeah, the thing is, it would be hard for me to set up an indoor growing station here because I would have to figure out a way to keep my cat off of it. She's a very active cat. She loves to get into stuff. Plus, I just don't have the space to do that. I got some things that I would love to get out of here and store in an offsite location, but I don't have access to any. Being that I don't drive, I don't know where I can go. Yeah, I could put a couple of buckets in my wagon, but with my right knee getting as bad as it is, it would be slow going at best, and there's not a storage locker within walking distance of here. So I would have to have someone with a vehicle to take me and the stuff that I want to store to another location, or I would have to find someone who would be willing to share some of their storage space and let me store some of my long-term preps there, especially. Yeah, I got some bucket place for. I got some totes I'd love to find another place for, but I don't have access to such a place. Yeah, but the thing is, it would probably take me dozens of trips, and with my rice and bean buckets and my bigger totes, they are pretty darn heavy, and I can't get even one of those totes into my wagon. I could get 2 buckets into a wagon, and I would still have to figure out, getting them in and out of a bus. It would be much easier if I had someone who would be willing to let me borrow space in a truck. And of course, that would cost additional money for the rent of such a space. Here's Took by V in the house. Thanks for dropping in. I've eaten everything that I plan on eating tonight. My drinks are gone, with the exception of this vanilla shake. I'm going to save this for another day. I opened up one of these the last time. I had one of these in a Canadian ration. Although I could experiment with putting a small amount of water in there, just enough to maybe turn it into a pudding. That could be something I might do in a future stream, just for the fun of it. But the baked beans, vegetarian baked beans, this is packed in 2018. That's what this 18 here is for. These had menu numbers, whereas my 2017 IMPs do not have menu numbers. This double layer paper bag got replaced with a plastic bag, I think in 2020, or yeah, I think 19 or 2020, this got replaced with the plastic bag with the Ziploc. Well, thanks a lot, Tim. That just may have to be something I would have to figure out what the cost of that would be for a month. You know, the way that everything was stacked back in here after my stuff got brought in off of my deck after my apartment got flooded this past spring. I just have not tried to rearrange it back the way I would like to, because I had been trying to deal with the hassle of the insurance company. I have not heard from them in almost 3 months. They kept insisting that I provide receipts, even if it is something that I handmade that I would want to claim, or that was a gift, or a roadside find, or something like that. They would want receipts for that. And if it's something that I bought 20 some years ago and brought with me from another location, how am I supposed to document that? I got rid of the receipt for that. I don't save receipts for 30 years. That's just a waste of space. And they would only, as far as living expenses, if I had to leave my apartment for some time, you have to pay up front and then request reimbursement. I submitted the receipts from the 2 nights that I spent in the hotel, one receipt for a meal, plus a couple of additional food purchases that were not from a restaurant but from a store. They wanted utility bills for power use changes for like before and after the time I had fans and water extractors and heaters running at full blast in my apartment in order to dry it out before the repair crews could come in and do their thing. I was probably burning a kilowatt an hour, or no, per machine. And my heater that I use all the time, that's also an air conditioner unit. It's kind of like a mini split, but not a mini split. It's a Windows style unit, but it's mounted into a hole in the wall. And the larger portion of it sticks out and is in some kind of a box, a vented box or a cage, like a typical window unit air conditioner would be. And that thing just kicked on. But that thing was set to the highest temperature it will go for heat, along with the other heaters, the high power fans, and the water extractors that they used in here. It was so hot in here that my cat was uncomfortable. I had my vent fan in the bathroom running all the time. I had my tower fan in my bedroom running. My ceiling fan got messed up. Another tabletop fan got messed up. My little USB fan was running all the time. But it was still so hot. I couldn't stand it in here. I spent as little time as possible during those last 10 days of Ramadan. I basically come in, wash up, eventually, take a shower if I didn't have stuff stored in my tub. Otherwise, I'd just wash up at the sink, put some fresh clothes on, and haul tail right back out the door. That's how uncomfortable it was. And of course, a few months after that, my fridge that was original to this place when I moved in, that crapped out. And again, the insurance company would have wanted documentation on everything that I had lost. Even if it was like a scratch cook food that I had put a portion of in the freezer or something that someone had given me, they would have wanted receipts for that in order for a claim to be filed on that. Heck with it. That's just too much hassle. So they stopped communicating with me, so I figured, nope, I'm not getting squat from them. I'm surprised they haven't sent me a bill to pay them for who knows what. Yeah, I've heard, spraying with water is not a good thing to do. In fact, my previous cat, Mila, if you sprayed water just the right way with a bottle and you aimed it just right, she would literally just lap it up like pumpkin drinks from a faucet. She would try to drink the water that Mila tried to drink the water that I would spray with just enough pressure to get it out of the bottle. Yeah, Mila did that. But so I don't use, I just, I just verbally chastise Pumpkin when she's doing something I don't want her to do. Or I may, slap something hard, or I'll clap real loud, or I'll go towards her as if I'm going to do something, but I just yell at her, and that's all I do. Yeah, some can be. Of course, when I first took Pumpkin in, Mila was not happy about a second cat being in there. Pumpkin would want to play, and Mila would hiss at her. But then, of course, when Mila started to get sick really, really fast, even that stopped, and then I ended up having to take her to the animal rescue league to have her cross the Rainbow Bridge. But Mila never purred much, and if she did, it was very, very soft. I could never hear it most of the time. But Pumpkin, she's got a motor in her. When she purrs, she's got that motor running, so I keep asking her if she's charging off my power stations when I'm gone, so she can keep running that kitty motor. But each one has their own personality. And although Mila was never a screen climber, I could keep windows open wide, and she would just look out through the screen. She wouldn't try to climb it. Well, Pumpkin is a screen climber, so I can't have a window or my slider open wider than the width of my hand. Otherwise, she would be climbing the screen. Yeah, it was. I had Mila for 18 and a half years. And that's why I still keep her picture as my profile picture on all of my social media stuff. Yeah, she was a special cat. She liked to sleep under the covers with me at night. She would curl up. Even in summertime, she would want to be under the covers. Unless I didn't cover myself up at night, she would still lay on the bed next to me. But she would curl up in a perfect circle. Pumpkin sleeps like that also. She will not sleep in any other position. Always in a circle. Yeah, some cats will just stretch out their full length. Others will get in weird position, but nope. Some just have to sleep in a perfect circle. Yeah, yeah, Mila would try to get out of my apartment. Pumpkin has only done that, I think, once. But most of the time, she's either sleeping when I'm coming in and out, or she's eating or drinking, or in the litter box. But right now, she's sleeping on my towel stack in the bathroom. That's one of her spots. She's got some other spots that she will lay, but it just depends on her mood, I guess, where she wants to sleep. But she is 6 years old. I got her in August of 20. She was 2 years old at the time. I'm not sure when she was born, since she didn't, she came to me from a friend who had to give up one of his cats when he had to move his family to a different apartment and they could only have one cat. So he brought Pumpkin to me. Yeah, his previous apartment had water damage from flood and all kinds of nastiness. And so he just moved out. The landlord had to gut that place down to the studs in order to get it cleaned up and safe again to make it ready for the next person who would move in. Yeah, sometimes Pumpkin will lay on the bed, but most of the time she's elsewhere, or she'll be in the bedroom, she'll be on my bed for a while, and then she'll go elsewhere. And she likes to go after my feet. Just taking a drink from what's left of the water that's in here. But I do like having her around. The little sign that I got hanging on one of those command hooks on the outside of my door. When I originally got it, it said, "Spoiled, rotten tuxedo cat lives here." After a meal across the Rainbow Bridge, I took a black marker and crossed off the word tuxedo, and then took a red marker and wrote the word tortie on there because Pumpkin is a tortoiseshell. That's her color pattern. So I just changed that sign to reflect the different cat. That way I wouldn't have to get rid of it. Yeah, there are a few other cats in the building. Sometimes when I'm on my deck, I might hear, especially if someone has their bedroom window open or the slider cracked open. I might hear another cat meowing. But we got dogs in the building. And of course, the owners don't pick up after their dogs after they dump their loads. I've stepped in it a few times. And sometimes it's hard to see if you're walking across grass and there's leaves there. The leaves may cover up some of the crap and you don't know it until you get inside and what the heck? So yeah, I had to clean the shoes off a few times. Yeah, people don't pick up after their dogs. And there has been some crap on the carpet in the hallway, so I reported it, cleaned it up as best as I could, and someone yelled at me asking me why I'm leaving dog crap everywhere. I said, I don't have a dog, I got a cat. How can I leave dog crap everywhere? It just proves some people are stupid. Yeah, no such thing here. The only fence we have is dividing of the property line between the house that's next to this building and the back of the what I would call the north parking lot. There's an alley that goes in between the two buildings, which gives access to the property from two directions. Plus, there's another apartment building that's next to the other one that is associated with this one that I'm in. So anyone who lives in that building can use that alley. So there's a fence there. And then there's another bit of fence that kind of portions off. Another part of the parking lot on the other side of this building. But that's pretty much it. There's no completely enclosed area. Of course, there's a park across the street. My side of the building faces that park. So when I'm doing some of my little shorts from my deck or longer videos, it's looking towards the park. There is Hooga Homestead in the house. Everything is gone that I planned on eating, drinking tonight. I did not open up this vanilla shake. I've done one of these before. I'll save this for another day. I may turn this into a pudding as an experiment in a future stream, just for a little something different. But this one was definitely a good one. Vegetarian baked beans, not too sweet. The sauce was a little thinner and a little lighter in color than I expected, but I didn't mind that. Because this is considered a breakfast menu, it had some oatmeal, which I did make up in this bowl. Very light on the maple brown sugar flavor. I have a fruit cocktail here, still got some of the syrup left. There was no candy bar or protein bar. Had the hamburger bun. They put 2 peanut butters in here instead of just one. That was an oversight on the packer's part. Usually there's only supposed to be 1 peanut butter and 1 jelly or jam. I didn't use a hot sauce on the beans. I didn't think that was an appropriate flavor. So I'll save the hot sauce for another day. Sorry about the flicker. I'm having issues with one of my light bulbs. I do intend to get some new ones eventually to replace that. So again, I apologize for that flicker. I tried swapping out a bulb for one that's in the bathroom that's in the same color type, the cool white, but it's flickering, so it's been around a little while. But I do need to get some more bulbs to replace those with. I like the cool white light bulbs for in here because I think they're really yellow, warm light. It just makes things too yellow for my liking. I just like the cool white, which some might say has a bit of a background blue. I don't always see that, but that just works best for me. I just like the way when I'm looking at things on the camera, it just seems to look better for me. I don't know what others think about it, but I got to do what works for me. So what I'll probably end up doing is I get some new light bulbs. I'll put it in here. I have one socket that is facing the slider that does not have a working bulb in it. I have not replaced it yet. I may not stick another one in there. The 4 socket in there has not worked in a long time. It's the ceiling fan. The fan doesn't work, but at least the light sockets, 3 of them still do. That the apartment complex won't replace the ceiling fan with another ceiling fan. They would just put a light fixture like the one that is in my kitchen. Because the light sockets still work, that's why they're not going to replace it. And because the fan belongs to the complex and not me, I wouldn't get insurance coverage for it. Not that I'm going to be getting anything from the insurance company anyway, because they haven't communicated with me for a long time. Because they want what I cannot provide. So I've just given up on them. Nope. Gone. Sorry about you having to see that nonsense, but that had to go. It is not worth repeating what was sent down the crapper. But I got to keep it family friendly in case someone has kids that are watching. Well, that's okay. I'm probably going to go ahead and call this good anyway, since I finished off everything I planned on. Next Sunday, which will be the last stream for 2024, I will pick one of the La Brayute certified kosher rations. Again, both of those are vegetarian. But I'm very interested in trying out their stuff. And then the first Sunday of 2025, I'll go after one of my other 2 Canadian IMPs. And I should hopefully be able to score a complete My Own Meals certified kosher ration. My Own Meals also did some double certified kosher and halal. So I hope to still get a hold of one of those complete ones. And then I can do a comparison between La Brayute and My Own Meals. And Shadow Scout Swede in the house. Just as I'm about to close this thing down, but this vegetarian breakfast menu, the baked beans, it'll be considered breakfast up in Canada, as well as on the other side of the pond. This is actually a good one. And packed in 2018. These 2018s had menu numbers. My 2017s do not. But I'm glad I got this one to sample. I bought these from the same guy that Smokey bought 4 sets of these groupings of 4 random pick. He got duplicates of some of his. Some of his are 2017, some 2018s. Again, some have menu numbers, some don't. He was wanting to get one more, but I got the last one. So, and I'm glad I did. I've had 2 of them so far, both very good. Unfortunately, the mustard packet in the smoked meat with mustard sauce, that one had gone south, but that was the only thing that was wrong with that one. But everything was perfect in this one, considering the age. And I was very happy with it. Yep, it is morning there for Shadow on the other side of the pond. But I do want to thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. Again, being that I'm Muslim, I do not celebrate Christmas, but I do go hang with my family that does. Again, I apologize for the light flicker. One of my bulbs is about to, it flickers because it's on its last lumens, but I intend to get some new ones, and then what I'll probably end up doing is putting the ones that are flickering in the bathroom, because that light does not stay on as long as the lights in my living room and kitchen do. Yeah, I have them on all the time. Otherwise, it would be pretty darn dark in here, considering that my apartment faces north. But again, next week, a kosher ration will meet my tray. So for those that do celebrate Christmas, and Hanukkah is starting on the same day, December 25th, which is a bit of a rarity when that happens. But I just hope that it is safe, that nothing goes south. But with the way things are going, you never know. That's why you want to be prepared. But I do want to thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. I'll see you next time. Catch you on the flip side.